Greetings, hello and welcome. I'm City... Oh my goodness sake, that's not me. I'm ImperialJedi and we're playing City Skylines. Thanks for being here. We are on the eve of a brand new DLC, Sunset Harbor, and I'm just way overdue for making one of these just all-encompassing Let's Plays. So I've kind of missed the boat in making some of the ones for some of the other DLCs before, but let's just kind of incorporate like everything all in this video. And, you know, for those of you who've been here before, you kind of know the format. We're going to start off a little bit more tutorial, very beginner-friendly, and we'll kind of just, like, you know, progress together. And I think the goal for this particular city is, yeah, to kind of use pretty much every single DLC out there. I'm not going to have natural disasters on, which might maybe make some people unhappy, but I will show some of the cool stuff that comes with the DLC pack. I use a lot of the assets, actually, to help with some city realism. So console players especially, take note here. And we can actually use it to create some waterfalls. And you're probably wondering, how the heck is that possible? Well, don't worry, we'll get there. But yeah, we're back on the islands. And this is actually the map that got everything started. A lot of nostalgia right here. Kind of took this one because it looked kind of nice. This is the city of New Lakewood we're about to create. A lot of good feels. We're going to take over a lot of the same kind of areas. We're going to go for the same build and design. So it's going to be like very nostalgic. I already know Porter Washington Parkway is going back in too. I've already had that in the comments section. So just, yeah, I'm really, really excited to build this. I think from a perspective of, like, you know, getting a whole bunch of new players in and just kind of getting all you old veterans, you know, getting all those feels out again. All right, well, the game has changed a lot, so the base map does look slightly different. We are on the islands. We are playing vanilla. We do have the DLCs, and let's get going. So whenever possible, I will try and highlight what I am doing, because I'm going to kind of treat this like you're brand new to the game here. So when you are brand new, you basically only just get one little set of roads here. You can unlock more immediately once you place one of these down. There's a small cost of putting stuff down because we are playing with a budget. Kind of makes sense, right? You can turn this off and have unlimited money, which is kind of a good way to start. You do get a slight refund when you erase stuff, so we're going to be conscientious of that, right? So we don't want to do a really long piece of road here just to unlock a few extra things, right? So we're going to delete this, get our partial refund. The roads start incurring a maintenance cost, so the more of these you put down, the increase you'll kind of see right over here, directly correlated. So your budget just already starts to get you. And, you know, we got no goods or taxes or anything like that, right? So there's no sense paying the budget while we're building. So we're going to pause the game, we're going to switch over to some one-way roads, and let's just kind of continue. We don't have access to the highway yet, so we're going to continue out our one-way roads, and we're going to treat them as if they are the highway. A lot of the time when you're on a brand new map, and sorry if I'm talking a little bit faster, guys, I just have, like, I feel like so much to say, you know? But I'll kind of go over things here. And all these pop-ups, they are pretty helpful, so if you want to go nice and slow, you can read them. You basically have the road tool options here. We're on a straight road. This right here controls the elevation step, which is the height that the roads will take when you're pressing either page up or page down to raise and lower. When the game first came out, you actually couldn't even make tunnels, which is kind of funny. So if you're coming from some of my older tutorial videos, you might see a whole bunch of new features in a different menu UI. Which again, is kind of why we're doing this, right? So we're going to have it on the lowest elevation step. I find that pretty convenient for vanilla. Which means like no mods or assets, right? Okay, so these things right here, that little blue line that popped up, that's controlled over here. And we can turn this kind of stuff on. The road guidelines is that one specifically. And it just kind of helps with your snapping. If you're looking for a little bit of symmetry, it's nice to have it on. If you find that these little blue guides are always getting in your way, sometimes they overlap when you've got lots of those little you know, roads kind of coming together, just turn them off. If you trust your freehand, you can kind of go nuts, right? But this is a little dangerous. If you're trying to chase symmetry, nothing's going to line up properly. And yeah, the system kind of works with like anchoring off of nodes, and then you can kind of do two-step placements, curve road tools. Anyway, we'll get into all that soon. Let's get back to the road building here. So we're going with a mentality of just kind of continuing the highway, but we're using one-way city roads. We'll continue that a little bit further, but let's just kind of build ourselves a nice little interchange here. So City Skylines, the AI traffic isn't the worst. Not the best, unfortunately. So we're going to want to leave our intersections nice and big. We want, as often as possible, 45-degree angles so that traffic can kind of just flow nice and smooth. And then going back to our road guidelines, as long as we have all this kind of stuff turned on, every 10 units you'll see that blue line. Right, we can go to that. That's the blue line. It appears at the 5-unit mark. So that's 5. You can kind of count it out, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we went out by 20. In my older videos, I think I just went out by 10 maybe. We're going to make it a little bit bigger now. Space is, you know, when I first started playing this game, I was coming off the heels of SimCity 2013, and I just kind of felt like space was limited. You get 9 tiles. You unlock them progressively slowly. You've got milestones to achieve to do that. And when you buy another tile, it has to connect a previous one. But you can go 9 tiles in any direction. And then there are mods and stuff on the game workshop where you can unlock more tiles. Okay, so we went out by 20, up by 20, and now we're just going to go over like this again. This gives us that 45-degree angled road that we're after, and this will be the fastest outflow of traffic. Think of this as like a fast-moving river, right? And then as you go down in speed on the street, that's like kind of adding obstacles to your river. So we're going to have a little bit of resistance. You know, the traffic will build, so we want to make sure we're kind of not having too much of a build-up. Because we've got, you know, a little short approach right here. We don't want our highway traffic to kind of back up onto the main, right? And the reason why we're not going too much further out like this is we don't actually have all that much credits to start with here. So we're going to be conscientious of our spending here. But I've done this like it's a time and true tested strategy here, so I know this will work as I make a mistake. Okay, so don't speed, you know, nice and slow here. We're not in a rush. A little bit of waste of money there. So that's out again by 20. And the thought process is here, is now that when we delete this, going with that mentality of just fast flow from the highway, we have a 45-degree angled road. We'll see a dedicated turning lane here because of lane mathematics. We have 3 breaking down into this. So 2 lanes dedicated that way. This one, you know what, it might actually be a turning lane as well. Yeah, it is, cool. You can see the arrow there. Now, does that mean that traffic will use all these lanes? Sometimes. It depends on the scenario. So in this case here, if traffic is to turn left at the intersection, you'll see usage in the second lane here, hopefully. What you might maybe see, though, is lanes coming up on the right and then shifting over. But generally speaking, it's like the end destination and how many kind of lefts and rights you take. That kind of calculates the traffic. It'll be a little bit bizarre, but you'll get the hang of it eventually. Okay, so let's recreate this on the other side. And then we're going to have a bridge that kind of comes over and connects, and that'll be the way on and off. And what we're going for is a little pocket of industry right here to start, and it's got really fast on and off for the highway. They create a lot of traffic. They bring a lot of goods in from the region, so we want to kind of steer clear of our citizens. And then down here at the waterfront where things are nice and beautiful, that's where the people are going to live, and we'll do some shopping in between just to kind of give them something to do as they go to and from work. So if you remember this, we're going out by 20, which is just finding the second blue line. And you can see there's your angles and everything down there too. Nice sharp 90 degree. Again, you know, it lines up, but don't worry about that kind of stuff. We're going for the other one, so we can turn off the road guidelines if that gets in the way. And then we're going down like that. And there's our, you know, almost the same thing, right? We're not deleting these roads yet, because if I do, then we're going to have nothing to anchor that properly off of. And our angle is going to be all bizarro. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. And then in regards to changing the direction of your one-way roads, which is also something you could not do when the game first came out, which is kind of preposterous when you think about it. You go to your road upgrade tool. It does not matter what road you have selected. So right now we have the one-way. If I right-click, that changes it. If I switch over to this, that's also how you upgrade your roads, by the way. That whole tool, right? But I can be on this road. All I have to do is still click on the road upgrade. When I right-click, that changes the direction. So we, of course, want the opposite here. We want, you know, flowing in. Now, the game, unfortunately, does not have yield signs. I'm not really sure why that's the case. You can go over to your junction controls. You see these will get progressively unlocked, so you don't get overwhelmed in the beginning, right? And then these pop-ups that pop up, feel free to read them. A lot of them are helpful, right? Little tidbits of information here. So if we click on our route here, it'll show us the pathing of the people taking it. So you can see where they're coming from. You know, where they live, where they you know, work. You can help guide traffic and kind of see where the major traffic patterns are forming, and you can use that to like plan bus routes and stuff, but we'll go into that later. Over here in your junction control, this is where you can start adding and removing traffic lights. Not that we need to right now, but if things get a little hairy, we can make one of these guys into a stop sign or possibly into this, right? Just to kind of guide the flow. But why would you want the traffic light? You know, we got only 2 ways in, so just a stop sign should be good. Yeah, yielding is kind of something that doesn't really happen too well in the game. Not to damper your style or anything. A lot of things are still very possible. Sometimes I shake my head at that. Okay, let's switch back over to this. I'm not trying to be a negative Nilly. The game, wonderful. I had 4,500 hours in this game. I didn't accumulate that by accident. So this is a very wonderful game. All right, so we've got our page up and page down. We know this from before to elevate and change our height. All right, put these back on if we really need to. And you can kind of see what happens, right? It's just bigger steps. So when I do page up, page down, it's just 2 different increments, right? So I prefer to have it on the littlest one. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing, right? It depends on the height and what you're going for, but I think the minimum is just 3 clicks up to go over top. Yeah, that's right. I personally feel like this, though, is very, like, it's a close shave for the trucks. So I like to go 4 clicks up, which I believe that would be 12 meters. And then you kind of see we're trying to anchor the first one here at the very bottom left of this grid. And when you're playing around, you'll kind of feel the difference, right? You can kind of free for all over here, but the grid gives snapping. And again, if the blue things are in your way, they're just trying to be helpful. If they're in your way, get rid of them, right? And we're trying to snap just to the outside, and we're drawing just to the other outside. And I promise you, in the very, very, very early stages, if things don't really match up, like that bridge pillar there, like, don't let the stuff trust you. It's okay. We'll get better with time, and we'll find tricks and everything to kind of fix all this, right? But let's get going, right? With your bridge pillars, and for the length and stuff like that, right? You see, if we try to draw this here, the bridge looks very steep. The maximum you can go out to is 12 units. So there's the 10, 11, and 12. That is the smoothest you can make your bridges. So let's try that. The only thing we got to be careful though, right, is now we've got 2 intersections here that are extremely close together. This is a little bit bad for planning. So we got some options, right? Instead of making that 12 units, let's make it 10. But do we end up with a little bit of a steeper bridge? But that's okay. Maybe we can 2-step this, right? Cool. Not quite the right height. In the interest of trying to make things look a little bit nicer, we can fix that. Just be, bear in mind this does kind of waste a little bit of money, but maybe it's an investment in your sanity, right? So whatever you feel like kind of works, right? And then obviously play around. Not an exact science. You might get little swoops and weird swivels. This kind of stuff, it really does jive your style. There are mods from the workshop, but that's totally not what we're doing right now. We're just going for function here. Beauty is a eye of the beholder, right? We'll get to that stuff later. Trying for a little bit of symmetry. I think we got a little bit better job on that side. Let's try this, spacing this over here. Please don't grill me in the comments section being like, oh, Mr. Imperial, you're stressing the importance of money here. And then redoing a bridge 4 times. Well, that's, listen, all right? Things happen. Oh, we got it perfect over there, not so much over there, but that's okay. All right, so what have we done? We've now got the way for the on-off traffic to get into the city really, really quickly here. We got a bridge, so you can go right back over, on and off again. Now let's extend these and kind of make a nice little easy-peasy grid out of this. And this part here, like totally dependent on the terrain, whatever you feel like doing, I would just kind of recommend to maybe try and keep a road hierarchy. And that kind of means that you want like wider and bigger roads to kind of serve longer distances. And then you kind of get a little bit skinny when you get to, like your destination. Or if you're making little neighborhoods and stuff like that, right? That's why your like neighborhood at home isn't like a six lane wide boulevard, right? That'll encourage a lot of traffic to cut through. You want to keep things local. And then outside of this zone, this is okay for 2-way traffic again. And even if it's a grid system, it's really simple to work with. Let's just do kind of that. And principally in the beginning, all we're trying to do is just get ourselves to the next milestone. So that'll unlock a little bit more, give us some more budget stuff, and we just have to be smart with how we spend our money. So this can even be right here, a small little residential pocket. We could have continued this down. Just gotta be conscientious of our money, right? So we don't need to touch the 6 lanes. We do have some of them unlocked, but just there's no need, right? We don't have that kind of traffic flow yet. Okay. Now, again, with that principal idea of we do not want intersections too close together. The traffic just does not like that at all. So let's maybe take a bit of a different approach and let's swoosh this one over. And we can find an angle that kind of like, pleases us. And I'd make the argument, this isn't really too sharp. If you're a truck, you can still make it. For like realism in air quotes, maybe you have to approach a different direction, right? But that way we kind of spread the intersections out. This is kind of how we did it the last time too. So a lot of that nostalgia vibes. And this should be appropriate, yeah, to add a little bit more grids too. And let's kind of close up here first though, because we're kind of running out of money. A little bit of a deviation going that direction, but sometimes, you just got to go with the flow. And so I'd say, especially when you're new, maybe 10 units, between your intersections. You'll kind of see why the more it happens. The closer they are, the less likely cars are going to flow smoothly through. Especially your larger vehicles, they will not enter this little intersection, this little piece right here. So a bus or someone waiting there is too long to occupy this space. So they will not go and idle here because they're blocking the intersection. They're smart. So for this to function, you have to either spread that out or have that connect over here, right? Because the poor bus will wait back here the whole time. The light timing might be all messed up. You might only get 1 car per light because of that. So always spread your intersections out when you're new. And then you don't really have to have traffic lights everywhere. Maybe in the busier parts, yes, but over here, not necessarily, right? You know, maybe that can be stop signs going in. Kind of think like, how is it done in your own neighborhood, right? Do you have four-way stops? Do you have one priority road? Do you want to make things a priority road? Sure. You know, you can adjust road, make it a priority. When you do that, it puts stop signs on everything connecting to it. Okay, that's kind of us for the moment. Let's get our utilities in. And we're gonna have to be kind of smart about this, because I really did spend way too much money. Worst case scenario, you can always back up some of your roads, but oh boy, let's give ourselves a challenge here. The maximum amount of wind power you can create here, you can see in the lower right-hand side, that's 0 to 8, is 8 megawatts. The darker the zone, the more abundant the wind. So there's an 8 megawatt zone. These things are very noisy. That's the only downside to them. They're fantastic, they look great. Green energy, of course, too, but they're very noisy. Over here is 7, that's not too bad. So let's plop one of these down over here, almost maximum. And the reason why we're choosing this spot is industry does not care. They're noisy. That does not you know, bother them at all, right? They'll be like having a noise competition for all that they know. But your residents, though, they get a little bit sick. Like the noise will kind of keep them up at night. They don't sleep well. They feel ill. They have to go to the hospital. And then they don't do well at their job. And then they become criminals. And you don't want all that bad stuff to happen, right? So we want to keep things like easy breezy, nice and fun. So keep the noise out. That's totally no problem, even though this is a very attractive wind zone. And where do you find good wind zones? Normally on the coast. Coastline, mountains, elevation changes, you know, plateaus at the end of a mountain, right? So the wind has to kind of channel on through here. Anyway, another thing we're going to do is we are going to put our utilities very close to a wind zone. So we'll go over here if no one's here yet. And again, this is where things get really scary because we are running out of money at a speed that is very alarming. Okay, so when you click on your water, you can see little arrows in your river. So this just kind of shows the natural flow and the current, right? You do not want a water outflow, so the bad yucky water, you do not want that upstream, right? So if I have water intake down here, the outflow cannot be here for what I hope are extremely obvious reasons. With the Sunset Harbor DLC, we do have an inland water treatment facility now. We will go over all this stuff. Let's just kind of keep it to the basics though, just in case you don't have the Sunset Harbor DLC yet. But the main difference this though is now it's inland, it can go anywhere. You don't have all that pollution, so it's a really wonderful solution. Let's kind of kick it old school here to start us off though. And I believe the maintenance is higher in this, 320 versus 240, yeah. So in the beginning, we do not want that extra cost. When we press play, we're gonna see all of these costs slowly creep in. And then you're gonna be like running way into the negatives. Not a bad thing. If you do go 50,000 credits into the negatives, so if you're kind of like just stuck, keep running the clock. You will get offered a bailout of, I don't know what it is, but I think it gets you back into the positives. Enough of it. So there's always that like emergency kill switch. So don't panic restart just yet. Let the clock run. Okay, back to building here. We're running out of time. So we're going to have these two sharing. That's kind of a key thing here. And you can see when you create objects that need power, they create a little bubble around them. And that's how the power is kind of shared. You don't really have to put power lines between building to building, but you need to do power lines between zones. And the power lines are happy to snap on grids and that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for some symmetry, you can do it. It's just, again, the budget. Oh my goodness. Well, that's okay. So I want this to be slightly upstream and then just relatively close enough. You see how it creates the power bubble connection? And then we want to be down here. All right, so quickly, what happens if you have no coast? That's a good question, right? You can still put this anywhere you want. Just make sure it's downhill. It'll look unsightly for a bit, but you'll unlock more tiles, no problem. And then you can use water towers. Put those away from the pollution zones, which would be industry and obviously these dudes, right? All right, next thing you need to do is connect your pipes together. In City Skylines, it's one pipe network that does both sewage and, what's the word I'm looking for here? Water. You can see we're very, very close to the end here. Holy smokes, what am I thinking? So I may have to delete a few of these roads. And again, this was just kind of like, I didn't normally go too far in that direction. I have to kind of look at my old video again. But what do you do when you get this far, right? You don't panic. You just delete maybe one little segment, right? Again, the principal idea is just to get us enough of a starting so that we can get through the first milestone, which is just like 300 or 400 people. But the people will not move in if they do not have just the bare minimums, which will be at this point water and a little bit of power. So we'll start where the areas are watered, and we're gonna have to zone kind of like outward, and you'll kind of see how that'll happen here. It's probably gonna be to the dollar, which is gonna be crazy. Let's just get rid of one little... Wow, this is to the dollar. Okay, here we go. Let's start zoning. So, same idea, right? We wanted industry up here. We cannot zone on these one-way roads. And it's really important to understand here why. The reason is this is coming from the region. So if we were to zone here, how do you get to work, right? You have to leave the region, go find the nearest clover leaf, loop back around, and then come in, right? So it does not, like, don't do that. Instead, just leave these roads as kind of like access roads, almost like service roads, right? And so we can zone not on here, but on here. And I like to do the marquee zoning. If you do the whole paintbrush, it's not a bad thing too, but just be careful on areas like this. And then you've got, you know, small and big little painters. And then to unzone, you can right click really easily, or I think there's a dezone option. Yeah, dezone. And that's just a left clicker. All right, so we want the industry to start growing very close to the power line, because that'll create that power bubble and start moving onward here. This is going to be a challenge to get people up to here, just with our current scenario. So we're going to start with our industry here, our people down here, a little bit of people here, and some shopping, and just hope for the best here. If not, what we would do is either wait for the bailout, where you probably delete a little bit more roads and just get a smidgen more of the power cross. So I don't mean to make this such a hairy-teary. So hopefully you guys are learning from my mistakes right here, but I know we can fix it, so I'm not panicking, but oh boy, maybe if I had done this again, this would have been better planning. Okay, let's go for it. And this will just be low density houses. We'll get the high density and all the skyscrapers and all that cool stuff later. But again, the game is kind of starts you off slow, so you don't get overwhelmed with options. And you don't make mistakes like I'm doing right now when you're new, right? So same idea with these one-way roads. We're not going to zone off them. This will be a busier part of town anyhow, so why don't we just kind of say that shopping can go here, just to get us started. And again, the shopping won't really mind the noise. Busier intersections do create a lot of traffic, and traffic creates noise. So kind of that boundary. You know what, before we zone that, let's see how the buildings come in. Okay, so we're gonna press play. This part's got water, that part's got enough water. We're hoping for the best here. And then milestones. So just 400 people. We unlock some loans and taxes, which is really what we're after. That'll make things like phenomenally easier, right? Don't worry about going to the negatives. Like I said, that's going to be expected. We'll get services on our first milestone as well. For the moment, we want to make sure that people are just getting power and they're not moving out. So power and water, and then hopefully somewhere for them to work when that demand starts going up. And then the RCI demand down here, residential, commercial, industrial. Keep an eye on that. Right, so right now, town is new, right? Calling for some people. As the people come in, you can see the demand for both shopping and jobs start to go up, right? Industry pops in. We hopefully have the, oh, son of a gun. We hopefully have the connection we didn't, but luckily we can fix that. So yeah, if we did not provide power, right, what will happen is these guys will move back out, and then the RCI demand will kind of collapse, right? All the people that moved in can't get a job. They're going to want to leave. And then if you are in the point where you cannot buy anything else, you can't do anything without making it functional, just wait. You'll get the bailout. And then if that also was an absolute waste of money and you don't get the city running, no problem. Start again. I think I had to start like 12 times when I was brand new to kind of get this going. So hopefully we're learning from my mistakes here. Hopefully we got something that's somewhat functional. Keeping an eye on the RCI demand. We're going to slowly start moving outward. Okay, so let's go to a little bit more industry. And then maybe to play it safe, we can just start slow. When the building pops in, then we can zone some more. That'll help with the power. We already got the water in here. Slight period of time before they move out without the water or the power. And by providing a little bit more jobs, that should start kickstarting some more demand for people. And then so right here, because of the way the power's being split, we can back that up. We're still connected. And we can add a little bit more residential zoning here, which will get us closer to that milestone of 400 people. Getting close to the border of no water, but let's take a little gamble here. And again, all we need is just the first 400 people. And I wouldn't say there's any rush in the beginning, but the first few milestones kind of important to get to. Like, really what you're after is a population of 7,500. You want to start unlocking some of the death care and some of the trash facilities. Because what will happen is you'll end up with a lot of garbage dumps with a maintenance cost. And we'll kind of see how that progresses when we hit the next milestone. So we already are in the positive, so our budget is going to save us. We have to crunch the numbers, though. We are going to get to, I think, 400 people as well at this rate, which is really cool, too. So let's just push us over the edge here. And that should happen before these people move out. So this game, I mean, it's not hard, you know? You can tell I'm a little bit more used to bigger city buildings. I think I'm actually having a little bit more of a hard time with this than I thought I would. But we're getting there. And then speed controls, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3 are your fast things, and then that'll just be another option down there. Little Hamlet is what we're after. We made it. I was very confident. I knew I was the whole time. Don't say otherwise. Okay, so now we can start putting in some services. Let's just do a smidgen of this, and then we'll wrap up the episode. And of course, we'll continue along very shortly, right? So let's just put it on pause while we kind of plan here, because we do have to address this issue, right? So putting it on pause helps us think about consequences, right? So let's first look at our taxes. Nice. Budget right here. This whole time we could have adjusted this. I personally don't actually touch it. I think I've started enough cities to kind of be like, well, you can leave it. But if you need to adjust the sliders, I would not recommend turning down the road. The maintenance will kind of go through the roof. The roads will degrade. People will drive slower on them. Water, same idea. Like, you have a lot in the beginning, but it's not really that much money you're saving, you know? My approach is just to kind of get to the first milestone, change your taxes, take out the loans. And speaking of taxes, we can go up to 12% comfortably. 13 might be a little bit of a stretch right now. And we're going to take out our first loan. This will help us buy the services. And not only that, we can actually do some expansion. So let's fix the immediate problems, which is water. That's there. We need to get power into this zone because that'll help us do a rapid expansion. And we'll use the leftover money to help put in some services. Do you need to get power all the way to the next power line? Nope, just over to the power zone over here. And then, just like anything else, these can also be elevated. So if you want to go over top of a highway, you may have to elevate it or lower it. That's just page up and page down, just like before. Okay, so a little bit of water, and then we are good to go here. Services are expensive, so we may not be able to get them all in. But I would say the most prioritizing one should probably be garbage. You can kind of play Witch Doctor at home for a little bit first, right? So we'll put that over there in the industrial area. The road, you should still be able to access it from this street here, but just maybe to play it safe, while it's empty, you can move it. You have to empty it into another facility or into an incinerator to empty it, though, right before you can move it. So now that it's empty, let's move it. There is a cost with relocation, though. So we know that's safe. That's on this road here. Be aware of relocation costs. The bigger the building, the more expensive the relocation cost, too, generally speaking. And also, too, like the more expensive the base cost of the building, the more expensive it will be to move it. So be wary of that. So trash collection is down, which leaves us with schooling and healthcare. I'd say healthcare is probably a little more important, right? So coverage, right? You can kind of see when you snap it to a street, you can see, especially with the one-way road, see how it affects things, right? And this is what I'm talking about, having no way back into the city. Coverage zone is really poor there. So why don't we plop that down? This is not a bad spot here. I think we can still make our way down. Or maybe right here. And if we offered a way off the highway into this part. Okay, well, we know this is a noisy spot down here, so let's have our entrance be off the avenue, not the one-way road, and we're planking it or plopping it down right over here. That's a good spot for us. And then let's put our school up over here. That'll encourage people to move into this neighborhood. So it was, after all, enough money to be able to buy everything, which is great. We can now zone over here while avoiding the one-way. And your buildings can only go out by 4x4 as the maximum. This is the biggest building you can have when zoning, 4x4. So armed with that knowledge, we've got the one-way roads here. We're only going to go out by 4, and we're going to get rid of the rest. That can be used later for backyards and some detailing. Same idea, only by 4. Whereas these ones we can fill all the way in, right? And then as per needed, we'll start completing the boxes and adding more people. So let's press play. We're hoping for this to fill in first, of course, right? And it did not, which is definitely unlucky. But you can see the idea, right? When we're doing that over here, you want to zone where the power is first. I feel like I'm just kind of making all these mistakes just to show you them. which I guess is part of the plan, right? Commercial demand is high, so we can switch to that. This might solve itself, but, you know, of course, worst case scenario, right? You just do a little bit more power. Okay, well, I think, guys, we're going to wrap it up right here. I will see you definitely in the next one if you're still interested. Hopefully this is enough to get you started, though. And honestly, the idea is this is going to be like a very grandiose Let's Play. Maybe you've checked out the last one. You know how these kind of unfold. And the last one didn't really get good closure, didn't get a good finish. My computer kind of broke down. So I feel like we're in it for the long haul for this one. Multiple, like, you know, 50+ episodes, guys. So much to do. And we're going to cover every DLC. The industries, concerts, campus. Like, we're going to stretch far and wide. We have so many ideas. We're going to use a lot from the old city. Bring back a lot of nostalgia. All right, there we go. There's the walking man. Some weird comments. Someone says look like a walking guy, someone holding a shield, someone holding something. Depends on how we do this little configuration, but there he is. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. I encourage you to check out our Discord, share some pictures, hang out on Twitter with us. And we do live stream on Twitch, so feel free to come over there. And I honestly don't ask for this kind of stuff very often, but if you really enjoyed the video, if it helped out, and maybe you have a couple dollars lying around your PayPal or something, and you want to send it my way, I won't stop you, you know. I got a link in the PayPal, but again, don't ever feel the pressure. Just hanging out here, dropping a like, that's way more than enough. If you want to subscribe too, I won't stop you, you know. But just be here, be positive, I'll help you out. We'll get some content out together. All right, guys, I'm really excited to see the city grow. Take care of yourselves, happy building. Drop a lot of questions too. Questions, comments, we're very happy to go over stuff as a team. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode. Happy building.